I think it's very important for us as public servants, especially in the revenue department, to take note of things that are advancing and how we can better improve our systems and our procedures. Because if we don't make improvements like this in the things that we do, then really we do a disservice to the communities that we serve. As the speaker was actually presenting, I was reminded of a young boy from the province of Limpopo, that because of the fact that they did not have running water from where he lived, that he invented the dry bath. I don't know if any of you have heard that. He was a young boy in his grade 11 year, that the concept had come to him that there had to be a better solution to fix the fact that where he lives, there was not access to proper water. And so it took him 2 years as a young boy to develop something that's now called a dry bath that has made him millions of rands as a young person. But it comes like a lotion, so you actually can just bath with it and not need water. So if we fail even in the things that we are advancing with and in the rate of technology that we have, someone somewhere is going to do a better job than us. So I think that it's really critical that we make the best of the things that we have so that we give the best to the people that need it. With that being said, it's now my pleasure to call our final speaker for this first half of the morning, and that is Mr. Brayen Norman Hill. And he is representing Utilities World, Southern Africa Revenue Protection Association. He has 33 years experience in the prepaid industry, 17 years in which he was involved in the prepayment metering and was part of the team responsible for implementation of the STS, primarily with Eskom and their vending rollout. He has spent years both internationally in Tanzania as well as in Nigeria working on a prepaid project, so he comes with a wealth of experience. He is currently the co-founder of Utilities World. Utilities World has grown from strength to strength over the past 14 years in the South African municipal market and is actively involved with SAPA and AMEU, of which he comes with specialized fintech company that they purchased with the view to invest and grow the business. He serves as the sales director for Utilities World, and this morning he's going to be looking at solving revenue protection challenges. Let's give him a round of applause as he makes his way.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, let me just figure out how to use this. There we go. Okay. This is a bit new for me. I think the last 5 years I've been talking about TID updates and how to get past what's happening on Sunday. So, yeah, we're at the crux. Let's hope we have no crisis. I've been asked to talk about revenue management and specifically focusing on smart metering and what that can do for us and where the challenges are in that. I think my colleague from National Treasury took away a lot of my thunder in talking about what meters can do, the smart meters can do for us. So I appreciate that. I didn't pay him, somebody else did, which is even better. So we'll talk a little bit about smart metering and what it can do for us, but what I really want to do is look back a little bit and see what lessons we can take from the past, because, well, let's go through it. I found a quote from William Wordsworth, which kind of made sense to me thinking about what we're talking about today. The way life is divided into three terms: it's which was, which is, and which it will be. So we learn from the past to profit by the present and to live better in the future. It's all about learning lessons. Very briefly then, the benefits of smart metering. It's all about data. It enables us to get our hands on a whole lot more information than we've ever been able to get hold of before. Tampering, leakages, if we're talking about electricity, water leakages, everything in real time. That kind of information was available to us before, but we had to use data to assume a lot of these issues. True consumption data. One of the biggest problems we've got with prepayment as it is today is we don't know how much the customer's actually consuming. We know how much he's buying, and we know when he buys it, but we don't know when he's using it. That makes it pretty difficult to do proper, accurate energy balancing in the electricity space and water balancing in the water space. Export energy, I think Dirk touched on that, where our solar, where all the PV installations are feeding electricity back into the grid. You can now measure that accurately and credit the customer accordingly. All of these things come with smart metering, and it gives us control of the grid. Load reduction, not load shedding. I think that's the buzzword. So what are the implications here? Non-technical losses? Well, it's the rapid identification of theft or tampering. You get alerts immediately. There's something that flashes up on your dashboard, or you get an SMS or an email to say somebody's tampered with their meter, which we should be able to use and to benefit ourselves. And the ability to perform accurate energy balancing. Why would you want to do balancing, water balancing, energy balancing? So that you can identify theft off the grid, not through the meter, but off the grid. You're putting in 100, your customers are consuming 50, there's 50 being lost somewhere, where's it going? That's what that's all about. I think one of the key issues here as well, which we miss a lot when we talk about smart metering in the electricity space, is time of use tariffs. The ability to implement time of use tariffs for small businesses and domestic customers is now available, because you've got these highly intelligent meters that are online, and you can implement it for a prepaid customer as well. It's a bit of a mind shift. You now have to sell the customer rand. You don't sell him kilowatts or kiloliters. And the meter does the calculation. While it's dispensing electricity, it works out what the tariff is and decrements the credit balance according to the tariff at the time of day, peak, off-peak, for the customer. The benefit of that is your load shifting to off-peak. I know there was a study done a couple of years ago which said it's not really going to benefit anyone. People don't care. I'm going to use my tumble dryer at peak time because it doesn't matter. That was a couple of years ago, before a whole bunch of 16 or 12% Eskom increases. Today it's starting to matter. People are worried about when they're using electricity and if they can get it cheaper. So the cost benefit of time of use tariffs is great. It keeps your peaks down, so you're paying Eskom less as well. It's something that really can be leveraged on with smart metering. Again, Dirk touched on the access to data for customers. They have an app. They can see what they're using. They can see that the maid's running the tumble dryer and everything all together, and they're suddenly using this huge chunk of energy during the day because they got a graph which shows them at this time you're using this much energy. You can manage yourself in that way. So it's real-time consumption. The red flags are there. Water, leaks. If the meter runs continuously for 24 hours, there's a leak in the house. The customer can be flagged. Customer, you have a leak. Please attend to it. You're now reducing the consumption. Push warnings to prepaid customers that they're running low on credit. If you're in Cape Town and your house is in Durban and you're running low on credit, you can buy credit, top it up remotely. That's pretty cool. I think the point is that the rising cost of utilities makes our customers forces them to be cost conscious. And they have to pay attention to their consumption data, to their costs, and the data then helps them with that. I'm not going to go through all of the bits and pieces. This is just a nice fancy picture. All the ways that we talk to different meters, there's LoRa, NB-IoT. It's what we're trying to show here is that the communication methods now are available, multiple communication methods, low cost and very effective, which has enabled smart metering. There's tools. Now you can see real-time data. Use those. Use that to curb your losses. So smart metering is a significant investment. If you compare to prepaid meters, you're paying maybe double the price for a meter, and you've got the ongoing communications costs. It's not free. You have to communicate to it. You have to pay for the data going up and down. So there is a significant investment and an ongoing investment. Many people see smart metering as the silver bullet. It solves the revenue issue, that it's going to make everything right. Maybe, but let's look at the past. In terms of a technological milestone, smart metering is the next leap forward. Okay, low cost, high availability of data I spoke about, and the devices, that's your enabler. If you look back a little bit, one of the previous milestones that we had was the advent of the standards-based prepayment. Eskom drove the whole change over to the SDS. So now we had this wonderful system where you could buy meters from any manufacturer. They all worked on one system. It was great. It was embraced. Eskom embraced it, municipalities embraced it. It's a low-cost deployment and a model where you can manage power and deploy power to everybody. So what happened? And I've seen it. I've been there. I've done that. Some utilities have embraced it, but they carried on doing what they were doing well, which was monitoring their customers, doing audits, performing the revenue protection actions, which they did with their normal credit meters. Others looked at this as a fire and forget. I'm not going to be like my colleague and ask people to put up their hands to say which side of the table you're on, but there's fire and forget. Install the meter, the money will come, and don't worry about it, and just leave it be. So what happened there? As the theft increased and the meters were bypassed on a larger and larger scale, I think a lot of municipalities have got to the point where they're unable to combat the theft. It's now taken for granted that electricity is free in some instances. There's the political will to normalize customers is not there. In my experience, we have a customer not in this province who has 70% of their meters bypassed, and they've known this for the last 4 years, but they're unable to do anything about it because there's no political will. They've gone past the point of no return. That's what happened to prepaid. Now, those municipalities where this hasn't happened have used the data, they've acted on it. The data is available. The low purchase, no purchase reports have always been there. That's your targeted audit. So there are success stories, but there are some very sad stories. Some view prepayment as a revenue failure. Okay. By and large, it's got nothing to do with the actual meter. However, in some of the instances where there's prepaid water, we have had issues where it's a metering failure, but mostly it's because of the lack of will or capability or capacity to act on the data which has been made available. So what are the lessons we've learned from this? So no matter how much data is available, it's the capacity and the willingness of the utility to act on that data which dictates the success or failure of the project in terms of revenue. Now, I'm not saying that smart metering is doomed to failure. I'm saying that smart metering make the data more visible, but without acting on it, you're going to end up in the same space as prepaid, if you have a problem with prepaid. So what do you need to do? You need to invest. You're investing a chunk of money in smart metering. You have to continue with that investment. Make sure that you've got people, vehicles, the capacity to audit, to maintain it. I have another customer, again, not in KZN, who has installed about 40% of their meters are smart. They get the alerts, meters tamper alerts. They don't have the capacity to do anything, so they know there's tampering, but they're doing nothing about it because they don't have capacity, and there's no will to give them the capacity to do it. So it's an end-to-end solution. You can't just install the meter. You have to have everything behind it to support it. The meters and the systems are giving you all the information you need to keep your revenue in order and in line. So yes, deployment of smart metering will bring a step change to revenue. We know that. If you're going to change 10,000 meters out, you're going to go and you're going to force me to do an audit on the meters that you're replacing. We're busy with some of the projects that National Treasury has made awards on, and we know 30% of the meters that we're replacing will be bypassed. We've already encountered it. There's your forced audit. You're going to have an increase in revenue. But to maintain that revenue level, you have to have the personnel, the training, the community engagement. If you don't have the community on your side, the councillors, you're not going to win. You have to have all of that in place. So smart metering enhances the visibility of your data, but it doesn't fix the problem. I'm not being negative about smart metering, let's be honest. It does bring a lot of benefits. I spoke about them already. The ability to control your grid, your customers' interaction with the meter. There are a lot of benefits, but you have to maintain the asset. The asset won't work for you if you don't look after it. That's all I have to say about the smart metering. So a little bit about us. We're a group of companies which is involved in revenue assurance and maintenance, involved with the SAPA, as I was introduced, heavily involved with SAPA. We are an RT29 approved service provider. So we're speaking from experience. We manage the revenue for about 110 municipalities around the country, and have a view on what benefit smart will give us. Are there any questions? Okay. Sudesh? Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. Oh.
Good morning. Thank you, Brian, for the presentation. I just want to check something. My name is Zama from Herigwala. What would make a meter to give a customer 100 rands worth of water every day? What configurations would cause that?
Sorry, I didn't get that. You're talking about water meters?
Yes.
Yes.
What would make a meter to give a customer 100 rands worth of water every day without you putting it into the meter?
Are you asking if it's possible for a meter to dispense water on a daily basis without any credit or token being inserted into it? It is possible, depending on the meter model. I'm agnostic to meters and the meter manufacturers, but I do know there are meters out there which you can set up to dispense 200 litres a day on our 6 kilolitre daily grant, 200 litres a day, and if the customer wants more, they have to buy credit. There are water meters out there that can do that, and if you're using a smart meter and it's got communications back to you, you can actually see that that's been dispensed and that there's no more credit being put into the meter. Does that answer your question?
It does partially, but I'm not sure if you you do not get it. The one part that you are answering, it's when you are configuring the meter to do that.
Yes.
If it's not done to do that, but it is doing that, what causes that?
Oh, it is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Then it could be a faulty meter or the bad configuration. You're saying it's giving exactly 100 litres a day? Okay, that sounds to me like a configuration problem on the meter. And that you should go back to the manufacturer or the supplier and just check how they configured it at the factory. That would be your best bet.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, colleagues, and thank you for the presentation. We are very impressed with the evolution from your conventional to your prepaid and now the smart meters. And I'm happy that National Treasury is here, because after being fully aware of what the actual challenges are, which is actually not the systems, but the people, and service providers are continue to enjoy the benefits of people that are not willing to do what is right. As National Treasury, what is it that you can do in collaboration with the service providers to ensure that people are doing what is right and not taking advantage? And I mean, from what you've just presented, that the system is able to see when there's errors, the system is able to say there is no buys, but we still sit back and just look at the no buys. And that is costing municipalities and our ratepayers a lot of money. Is there something that can be done to assist on that line? The second issue is on the smart meters. What is the temper rate on those smart meters? Thank you.
All right, so yeah, I thought as much. There'll be questions coming up. All right, so to address your first point, so on the program that I am running, and I'm responsible for the smart meter grant implementation, I'm responsible for the revenue improvement program, I'm also responsible for the debt relief program at National Treasury. So we're aware of the challenge that you are talking about now. So what we've done with the RT29 transversal tender, I have set up a PMU. The PMU is set up in such a way that exactly what happens in any of the municipalities that the service providers implement through the RT29, I will be able to see how the municipality is reacting to responses on tamper and bypassing or non-purchasing and what have you. So exactly what happens in the back office of the municipality, the RT29 is set up an end-to-end solution. So whatever happens at the back office of that municipality, I'll have a duplicate in my office to see it on my screen. So in that way, I'm forcing municipalities to react. In addition, the RT29 transversal tender is got support on the ground for 3 years. So they're not, as Dirk indicated, we're not just providing you with the hardware and we walk away. The end-to-end solution has got a 3-year support. After the installation is made, you have 3-year support by the service provider in your municipality. So if there's any challenges that come through, the service provider will deal with it. The training that takes place is for the service providers to train the officials in the BTO, to train the technical officials, as well as your IT people, because IT people are important for the technology that's involved in this smart solution. So we're making sure that all of these gaps are covered. Obviously, there'll be someone smarter and come up with something around that, but we'll deal with it as and when we're coming through. I hope that responds to your question. Thanks.
Thanks, Sadesh. Thanks, Sadesh. If I can back up what Sadesh has said as a service provider to Sadesh, we are committed as part of the contract to 3 years of support on the ground in the municipality. But it's not just about us doing the work, it's about us getting the municipality to the point where they can perform the functions themselves. And that's very important. For me, as working on projects in Africa, it wasn't about go in and do the work and walk away. You have to enable the staff, enable the utility to continue with the work you've done. Otherwise, what's the point? So it's embedded in the contract, and I think all of us have embraced the concept as well. In terms of tampering on the smart meters, please don't let anybody tell you that there's a meter that is tamper-proof. The smart meters have got some really good sensing on tampering, magnetic tamper, taking covers off, terminal covers. There's a whole bunch of different sensors in it to do that. It's got a battery in it, so your customers can't wait until there's a power failure to go and tamper with the meter, because it'll still go into tamper even though there's no power. That's been a problem with the old prepaid meters for many years, because when there's no power you can do what you want and the meter doesn't detect anything. So the smart meters have got a lot more intelligence when it comes to detecting tamper. And you will be alerted that there was a cover removed or there is a magnetic tamper. All of those alerts come through to you. It still doesn't get around the fact that your customers can bypass way before the meter, take a tap off your feed and feed the house. That kind of tampering and that kind of theft can only be identified if you have very good check metering in place, or you do what a lot of municipalities do, and you do audits every year, go and do the inspections, the tests, to identify where there are issues. Nothing beats somebody going and doing a physical inspection. I may be old school, but that works best. Yeah. Does that answer? Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Regarding the tampering fee or any fee that you would need to do if the customers tampered that smart meter, you get flagged. Is it still a manual process in the sense of a report is printed out at the end of the month and gets sent to the clerk to actually manually debit that customer's account for tampering fee? Or if it's flagged or you get a notification, whatever, alerted, use the word alerted, how does that charge, because we all charge for tampering fee, land up on the customer's account? Is it still a manual process? Does it, how is that integrated? Or is it still, you just get a report at the end of the month and it would still need to be captured and authorized for the customer to be billed?
Okay, so that all depends. It depends on how you want to run your processes. But the view we take is that you cannot leverage a tamper fee unless you've done a physical inspection and raised that tamper fee to the customer. They have to have a copy of the penalty. You might have a fine book that you'll give them a copy of the penalty, or they have to come into your offices to make an arrangement. But there has to be a physical inspection. So once we get the tamper alert, someone must go and check the meter. Now, the meter might have gone into tamper for some innocuous reason. Maybe a rat went and chewed a wire or did something. In that case, you reset the tamper, correct the problem, and there's no issue. So we can't automate the tamper fees based on the alerts that we're getting.
It would have to be investigated first, I understand.
So it has to be a manual inspection. The tamper's raised. The disconnection of the meter can be done remotely, and the reconnection of the meter can be done remotely by yourselves in the office, because that's all part of the head-end system and the access to the meter. But the way that the tamper is treated and is raised against that customer, if they're on prepaid, you can raise it on your billing system, because it has to be raised somewhere, and I don't think it can be done automatically. But if you raise it on the billing system, you can pass it through to the prepayment system to collect in your file exchange with the billing system, with the prepaid system. I mean, that's simple enough, and depending on the technical integration you have between the two service providers, obviously between the billing system and the prepaid, that would be best, is that you leverage it and it goes through automatically. You could manually capture it on the prepayment system and work out on the guy's arrangement if he's got 2, 3, 6 months to pay. It varies from municipality to municipality and policy to policy, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, the actual tamper being raised can't be automated, because you have to have eyes on the meter, and the way we do it is we have an application, which it's not uncommon in any of the service providers, an audit application, pictures of the meter, pictures of the tamper, pictures of the front of the house, with the report, which is what's used as evidence to support the tamper and the fines.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
It must be backed up. So whatever Brayen is saying, it must be backed up by your policy. So you must have the policy and it must dictate. Remember, Brayen is saying that you're going to get tampers. There's no meter that's tamper-proof or tamper-free. But we're trying to limit the incidences of that tampering happening. And then your policy in your municipality needs to dictate how that customer is dealt with, right? And I'm hoping that you're going to put a hefty policy when you find a tamper, because that's a deterrent of what must not happen in the future. Yep, thanks.
Thank you, Program Director. I think Sudesh jumped the gun. He beat me to that. But in addition to what we wanted to say, that on the administration side, the credit control debt collection policies must evolve to accommodate the smart technology in terms of meters. So municipalities must take cognizance of that and deal with the tampering fees. But over and above that, when you publish your tariff of charges as municipalities, your tampering fees must be there. And I would agree with Sudesh, it must be a punitive amount, so that we actually instilling a culture of what's not acceptable.